The following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
Now up to bat, new rules in spring training. Of course, this last year has brought a number of different rule changes here. We've got changes to the shift. We have the pitch clock. We have the changes to pickoffs and base size, all having drastic impacts on the game. Brandon, your opening thoughts.
So I have a few thoughts regarding each rule. First, of course, the pitch clock. I like it a lot. Speeds the game up for sure. However, my biggest gripe with it is that some of the umps just love showing up the players with it. Nestor Cortez yesterday got an automatic ball called on him. Not because he wasn't set on the mound, but because he wasn't looking the batter in the eyes, which, look, like, I think that it's a really good rule. There is some things, like I saw Max Scherzer talking about, like, how when the clock hits 7 or whatever, when the batter is supposed to step in, is that 7.0? Because there's no like a decimal on the clock, is that actually 7 seconds? Is it 6.9 seconds when the ump officially can call it off? And I think that it's going to take a little getting used to for the MLB guys, but you can tell that these prospects that have been in the minors that had already had to, use this for pretty much all of last year, they're completely fine with it. And also, I'm not sure if you saw Sergio Romo. He had his last ever game, and he was embracing the crowd at Oracle Park as they were giving him a standing ovation, and got 2 automatic balls called on him. Which, look, it's the rules.
At that point, I wouldn't care either.
Yeah, no, it's the rules. But no, I think that the pitch clock is a great addition. The games are certainly sped up.
And I have a few more thoughts to your point here, Brandon.
Yeah.
It's very much the same issues we've been having for years. If it weren't the pitch clock, these umpires would find something else to do to attack these players. And so at the end of the day, that's a change that, not enough people are realizing how. I don't entirely know how to create the rules to make umpires more accountable, but that's really what this all comes down to, so much of the game. Even if you put in robot umps for the ball strike calls, that type of stuff, it's still an issue. It's still difficult for us to truly trust these guys until there's some form of proper accountability system put into place by the league, by the umpires, to ensure fair play here. The one thing that I don't think is going to have, that much of an impact, I never thought it was going to have like this crazy drastic impact. The shift doesn't seem like much of a storyline here. Obviously, you're seeing teams now go with the outfield shifts very heavily. Those, of course, they're only going to affect the major offenders. They're only going to affect the Joey Gallos who physically don't know how to put the ball into center field, much less the opposite field. And so that doesn't really concern me as much. What I find the more interesting rule change and the more interesting storyline here is going to be the stolen bases, because you add that into the pace of the game. You add that in to the 2 pickoff attempt rule and these new bases. We're going to start seeing some special numbers. I'm not sure it'll be this year, because basically what we're going to have is we're going to have the Wild West of guys running, trying to figure out statistically who has the advantage, who has the proper advantage, and what teams can get away with. But in my eyes, 2-3 years down the line, we're going to start seeing those Ricky Henderson-esque seasons start to come back. Like, there's plenty of guys, Brandon, you're wincing as I say this. I'm not saying his record's going to get broken right away, but there are plenty of guys.
No one's ever touching that. 130 in a season, no one's ever touching that. And
I'm telling you right now, we're going to see a couple guys around 70, 80 within the next 3 years. if we're already getting to that, 130 is very much in play for the right guy in the right situation. Very much. I don't think there will necessarily be anyone as good as him again, but that doesn't mean that the right situation, the right player isn't going to be able to touch that at this point. These rule changes put that back into play.
And a guy that I was doing a reading about a couple nights ago who he plays for Oakland. His name is Esteore Ruiz. He stole like 80 something bases in the minors last year. He had like 35 at bats for the A's last year, but he's going to break camp with them this year and will fully be in the majors. If he can get on base enough, I think he'll be pretty good. I think that he could lead the league in stolen bases as like technically a rookie. So that's certainly something to note. As for the pickoff rule, I like it, but I'm interested to see the kind of mind games that we're going to see in the regular season with it. As soon as you throw over once, it just seems like it's so pointless to throw over that second time, because after that, you can just take a massive lead where like, okay, I'm either going to, like, yeah, if the pitcher steps off, he has to get me out. I don't know. It seems like once you throw over once, I would steal if I was on base and I was quick enough and I had the green light. But I'm interested to see what these speedsters and other guys are able to do.
And that's
and
the
of
beauty
course,
of it, too, is there's going to be those opportunities. The one thing we haven't talked about here, and I'm not sure, maybe the Twins were ahead of the game and onto something with the Vasquez contract, which I think most people have agreed was a bit of an overpay. But those defensive catcher contract numbers are going to spike, because not only is that where the entertainment of the game is going to come so much from, but it's going to become more and more important. Honestly, some of the more exciting game plays of some of these games now are going to be seventh inning runner on first. He's going. JT Realmuto throwing down on the pitch out. Like those
yeah,
types
and
of
we might
normal
see
plays are
teams.
going to be special.
And to your point, we might see teams actually use the pitch out. It seems like it's so rare in today's game, just because there's no one who, teams kind of came to the conclusion once the sabermetrics started taking over that if you can't steal bases at a 75% or higher clip, there's no reason for you to be doing so. So with the bigger bases, the pickoff rules, and the pitch clock as well, because now the pitchers can't, stand there and keep looking over at the runner and stepping off, playing those kind of mind games. So yeah, no, I agree. I think the overall, the rules in spring training have proven to be very positive for the game, and the game seemed much quicker, and very excited to see what they look like in the regular season.